I want to leave a legacy behind of just being authentic, sticking to your brand and what you think works for you, not doing what everyone else is doing.
Welcome to Identity Unveiled. IU is a network empowering Asian American women executives and industry leaders. Asian American women are making huge strides in content creation, particularly fashion, lifestyle, and motherhood. The global fashion influencer marketing was valued at almost $6.8 billion in 2024. Lifestyle content remains a dominant category with 40% of social media users acknowledging the influencers impacting the purchasing decision.
We are so excited to have the amazing Francis Lola with us today. She's a talented content creator and fashion influencer who's been making waves online with her unique style and creative energy. With 333,000 followers and growing on Instagram, 338,000 followers on TikTok, and 28,000 subscribers on YouTube. Wow, amazing numbers. Francis has built an incredible community by sharing her love for fashion, beauty, and glimpses into her life as a new mom. Although second time around this time, right? Whether she's partnering with big brands or keeping things real on social media, she brings a fresh and authentic vibe to everything she does. In this interview, we're going to get to know more about Francis and her journey and what inspires her and how she balances it all. Welcome, Francis.
Hi. Oh my God, I'm so flattered by all those words that you've said about me.
Well, where did you grow up, Francis? Tell us how it was growing up.
I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley. It's a suburb just outside of downtown LA. It's like east of downtown, southeast of Pasadena. I was born and raised here. So my parents were immigrants, like many of us Asians. They came here and escaped during the Vietnam War, and they had landed in LA in SGV, and they started a business when I was a baby or maybe about one. They opened a market in El Monte. Growing up, I got to watch them work really hard and run this business. I got to see them like wake up really early, go shop for inventory, open the store, run a whole store of employees, and just really watch them work so hard to achieve their VM, I want to say. And I started working there really young too. Like I was working behind the cash register at like 7 years old. I got to grow up watching them work really hard and just saw the work ethic they put in behind everything that they did. And I think that really benefited me in my teenage years and going into adulthood, really just chasing after my dreams and working really hard no matter what the dream was. And I grew up in a very Asian community, I must say. I feel very grateful to have grown up there because I did not really feel like a minority growing up. And I feel like it was kind of nice, but also a disadvantage for me growing up because when I got into like adulthood and I spent more time in LA, I was like, wow, there's not that many Asians outside of San Gabriel Valley. But it was nice. I enjoyed growing up in SGV and being surrounded by my culture and growing up with lots of Asian food and Asian friends and family around.
What is your day like as a content creator?
Every day is a little bit different. Right now, I'm like fully immersed in motherhood. So I'm really focused on my son and just being the best mom I can be. But if I have the time for it, I love to set up my tripod and just film anything that I'm doing because I don't always have a plan, like a content plan, but I love to just film a bunch of content or clips just so I can compile them together and use them for something later if I have like an idea. On a normal day, it's getting up, focusing on my son, catching up on emails, catching up on any projects that I need to do, any deadlines coming up, taking any meetings if I have to, and running errands and going through PR and styling outfits and then figuring out like what content is trending and what sounds are trending, and then just making a plan of what I need to do from there.
Francis, would love to go a little bit deeper in this because I think that there is so many people who see the pictures and the videos, and I think there's a lot that goes on behind that. So in your kind of day in the life, I mean, you mentioned that you don't always have a content plan. So how do you go about selecting your content? Do you have a team behind you that's working to help you figure out and mine what to post about?
I actually don't have a team. I'm kind of like a one-woman show almost. I do have a photographer that I work with sometimes, but in terms of content planning, I feel like I'm doing a lot of research, which is like spending a lot of time on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, seeing what sounds are trending, what video styles or editing styles are trending, and then just writing down all those ideas that I like. And then when I have the time, I style the outfits and I think of the perfect sound, and I get together with my photographer for like one day and I batch shoot content. And I feel like that's the most effective way that I can get it done, especially as a mom, like just getting everything done in one day, shooting a bunch of stuff, and then I can spread all that content out within the next week or so.
So like when we see like different outfits and we see different like products or something that you might be talking about, is that all shot in one day?
Sometimes, yeah. Like sometimes I'll meet her at, I don't know, like in West Hollywood or at the Row in downtown, and I'll just park my car and I'll bring like 6 outfits and I'm just changing in my car. I'm like shooting one outfit. I'm like, okay, did we get what we needed to get? Photos, video content, and then I go back in my car, I change. It's like not as glamorous as it seems, but it's how I've done things since I've started. It's just more efficient for me to do it that way, and I enjoy it because then I'm like in work mode.
You've built a large following and a community, and I think they're very responsive to you. I think you probably have a higher rate of engagement. When did you realize when things really started moving towards growth? Were there strategies where you used collaboration? I like Michelle Phan and Chriselle Lim were doing collaborations early on, and that really propelled her, from what I hear. What about you? Were there some strategies that really worked, and then you're like, wow, I'm really moving?
Yeah, in the very beginning, when Instagram didn't have an algorithm yet, it was very easy to grow. So my strategy back then was to just wear and tag every brand that I was wearing in hopes to get noticed and in hopes to get reposted. That was easy to grow back then. I feel like it's a little bit different now, but also equally, I think people have a similar strategy. But I started seeing growth pretty quickly doing that. And so I kept running with that strategy. And then eventually I got reached out to by brands like L'Oreal and Kerastase, and I got to work on some really big projects with them. So I felt like those were like big milestones for me. Those were like my measures of success. I was like, okay, well, these are some huge brands that are noticing me now, and I'm getting some really cool projects that I'm really proud to call mine. So I think those were like moments where I was like, wow, I'm getting there.
I think you have a really unique look. Like you can definitely tell it's Francis. Like your brand is very unique. So I love that. Moving on, I think that's huge. I mean, it's hard to have Asian women at L'Oreal and all these big brands representing. I remember when I was in Hollywood and we would do auditions. I'm sure you may have been to any of these, whether it be modeling or acting. And they didn't call for an Asian woman. It was for blonde hair, blue-eyed, because really the main target at that time for the consuming power was probably not Asian. So it's really great that you are the face of these brands are getting these amazing contracts. What about building a brand for yourself? What are your thoughts on that? Like launching your own proprietary empire?
I would love to start a business of my own, but I don't know if I want to start a brand and sell product. I feel like it's very saturated and there's a lot of that. I think it would be amazing, but it's not a passion of mine. I think in terms of business ideas, I really want to just kind of follow in my parents' footsteps and open a little like coffee shop or a bodega and like something that is like a passion project. I love supporting Asian founded beauty brands and makeup brands and all that, but I just feel like it's not a true passion of mine.
Francis, how do you go about selecting the products or the brands that you want to showcase and represent? Sometimes people question somebody, is an influencer using this product? Do they really like it, or is it a business or strategy driven? How do you go about it?
I always try to make sure that it's definitely a brand or a product that I would use. I'm very big on authenticity in an age where social media can be fake, and a lot of people are doing this for the paycheck. I started this as a passion of mine. Like I started my blog as a creative outlet, and I truly loved the fashion and beauty space and sharing things that I truly love and use. So a lot of times brands will send me the product beforehand before I have to do a post for them. And I get to try it out and make sure that I truly, it resonates with my audience and it fits in with my style. And so I really am big on being authentic and organic with my content.
I feel like with AI, the divide is getting bigger, in terms of content, real content. And I feel like a lot of influencers put everything out there, like their whole lives, every second. It's part of the job, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line. And sometimes there's no line. So I really just try to think about it's not just my life that I'm sharing. It's my husband's life. It's my parents' life. It's my sister's life. It's my son's life. They're included in my life. It's details of their lives I'm sharing as well. And I really don't want to put so much out there that can be used against them in the future. I love motherhood content, but I really am trying to stick to my bones, which is fashion and beauty. And it's trickled into like lifestyle and cooking and motherhood, but those are just little pieces of me. I don't want it to become my whole identity. And I don't want it to jeopardize my relationship with my friends or family or their lives in the future.
I think that's such an important point because boundaries, having work boundaries, I think is
Yeah.
the topic that comes up. And so for you, finding that boundary between work and your life. And even though you do talk about motherhood and there's pictures of you and your husband and your child, what is that point for you where you're like, okay, this is getting too personal?
I guess safety is a big thing for me too, and privacy. So, unfortunately, I've been seeing a lot of theft and robbery online, especially with influencers being targeted because influencers love to show their new purchases. Like they worked really hard, they bought this new bag, they bought these shoes, they have this car, and people love to do like home tours because they're really proud of the life that they've built. I feel like we're putting so much online and we're putting ourselves a little bit at risk. And now we're being targeted because people can physically see all of our belongings and our space and where we live. So I think, especially after, I mean, it's always been a priority of mine, privacy, but especially after being a mom, like I think privacy is my number one priority. So I'm really now taking a step back and like thinking about the type of content that I'm sharing and how it'll affect me and how people will perceive it. When I was younger, I would do like designer haul unboxings and like I would buy like a new designer bag and it's really exciting to just like open it up and it's a beautiful piece that you're proud to show off. But now I feel like I'm being way more mindful about the type of content that I'm putting out there.
I feel like I was talking to an influencer the other day and she's like, I should invest in a cybersecurity, right? Because like someone pretend they posted like your photo, whatever's in the back. AI was able to go in and identify like even down to the address. It's crazy stuff.
It's
Yeah.
unfortunate that this is the world that we live in now, but very mindful about the type of content that I'm putting out and how it'll affect me or how it'll affect my children in the future.
I want to delve in a little bit more about what drives you because I know it takes a lot to get to where you are and have accomplished so much. And I think that drive comes from upbringing as an Asian American, especially an Asian American family. Tell us a bit more, like what even propelled you for to step back into like, I'm just going to keep posting today. I'm going to maybe get into this career. What was it for you as Asian American?
Didn't really start off as a like quote unquote career for me. Like I said, it was a passion project of mine. Like I was working a fashion brand full time and I wasn't making that much money. I was like waitressing on the weekends and evenings to make ends meet. And to feed my creative soul, I started blogging and I would style these outfits, take photos, and I would tag everything that I was wearing. And because I would always get asked by my friends and family where I buy stuff, where I shop. And so I was like, you know what, it'd just be easier for me to just shoot some photos and then like tell everybody where everything's from. So I started this off as a passion project, I guess, and posting every day was fun for me. It still is fun for me. And now that it's the way that I make money, it's like I think of it as showing up to work every day. Lately I haven't been posting as much because I'm a mom, but I consider posting like me clocking in for work. And if I don't clock in for work, then I don't get paid. So that's what drives me right now. I consider myself a freelancer. And so I have to continue posting and staying relevant and keeping up with the trends and doing the research. And if I want to continue propelling in my career and growing, I need to keep posting and show up to work.
So you've been kind of posting about your journey on motherhood, second time around. What is a message you're trying to convey? I imagine other future mothers or current mothers that are following you. Is there something specific you want them to know or feel as they follow you on this journey?
To never let go of who you truly are. Before I became a mom, I've always loved coloring my hair, getting my nails done, doing my makeup, dressing up fun to go out with my girlfriends or my husband. And I still am that same person, even though I'm a mom. And I don't want people to be afraid of having children because they think it's going to completely uproot their lives. It does in a certain way, but you can still remain true to who you are and be that person that you want to be after you become a mom.
And who's the person, Francis, that when you say, this is who I am, this is what I show, how do you want us to know who you are?
Just an authentic, bubbly, energetic, outgoing mom.
Talking about mom, did you have any issues getting pregnant? I know a lot of people deal with infertility. I'm sure you're very young and that probably wasn't the case, but just curious, was it planned or was it hard to get there?
I fortunately did not have that issue. My husband and I actually got pregnant both times fairly easily. We weren't really trying, but we weren't not ready. So I'm very grateful for that. But I have several friends that have been having problems or have had issues in the past or have had miscarriages. And I feel like it's not talked about enough. Yeah, it's very unfortunate because you don't know until you try.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful and fortunate that we didn't have any issues at all. So
It's a miracle. I mean, there's so many steps to getting pregnant through the IVF cycle, all these hurdles. So it's amazing. Congrats again.
yeah, I mean, I think it's great that some women are sharing their journeys and it's being talked about a little bit more now. You feel like it used to be so taboo, and it's getting a little bit more publicized now.
Francis, you talked about, your career as a fashion influencer, a beauty influencer. What is kind of the legacy that you want to leave in this digital content space?
That's a big question. I feel like there's so many like more amazing creators other than me. I just feel like I'm this tiny girl from the suburbs outside of LA. But I mean, I guess I just want to leave a legacy behind of just being authentic. I feel like the social media space can be so like cringe sometimes and fake, and some people just are doing things for clicks and likes and to make money. So that's the unfortunate part and side of social media. But I just want young girls to know that they don't have to be doing X, Y, and Z to get popular online. And being the most popular person online isn't the most important thing either. Like I've been doing this for 10 years and I don't think my numbers are as big as they could be after doing it for a decade. But that's just not my priority, I guess. I don't want to gain a following doing the wrong things.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I mean, consistently throughout this time that we're chatting, it's the job of the influencer versus what's going on in the industry. It's all about for you, like being very authentic. And so that is an incredibly hard thing to do because you're always on camera. But I think that also relates to a lot of our audience that are executives on how to be authentic, how to build a following, especially as a national thought leader or speaker.
How do you couple authenticity with fashion and beauty? Because I imagine like when you're showing their products, is it about, what you look like before and after? I mean, what's kind of the trend now in how content creators should really embrace authenticity?
That's a good question. I mean, I used products that I think would resonate with me and my audience. And okay, I have freckles. I wouldn't use like a skin lightening cream because I actually like my freckles and I don't want to encourage people to get rid of them. There are certain fashion trends that I didn't follow because I didn't think they were for me, like the jorts trend. I never bought a pair of jorts and I never shot any looks with a pair of jorts, but I think they look cool on other girls, but I don't think they would work for me. So it's hard to answer that question because I don't have like an example of what not to do. Like I just have like examples of what I didn't do. So just sticking to your brand and what you think works for you, not doing what everyone else is doing. Even though I saw so many cool girls wearing jorts and sneakers and crew socks, but I was like, I just don't think that'll look cool on me.
I think that's a really important piece, Francis, because I think even when you look at like young girls that have aspirations to one day follow in your footsteps, that it's staying true to who you are. And just because it's a fashion or a trend doesn't necessarily mean it's something that you need to jump on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for experimenting. I did a lot of experimenting with my style, my look in my 20s, but I think getting older now I know what works for me and what I want to try, and I don't have to try everything.
But what's the one thing about your career as an influencer that a content creator that you just didn't expect and people don't really know or think about when they go into something like this, into this career?
I guess just being noticed by such big brands sometimes. Like I said, I feel like I'm just a small girl from the suburbs outside of LA, just sharing like silly little makeup and fashion things that I love. But just getting to do such big projects and working with big brands like Samsung, Kerastase, L'Oreal, like those are huge things for me. So I think that is still a shock to me sometimes. I have to pinch myself like, wow, I did that.
Are you going to go forward like more of those brands, or are you just letting them come to you? How do you
I
approach
would like to. I think after I get my energy back and have more of like a hustle going with like posting more than I used to. Yeah, once I get my bearings going again and get back into a routine, then I think I'll be able to attract more of those brands again.
Well, thank you so much. I think your life is incredibly interesting, and I applaud you for creating such a community and following.
Thank you. I'm truly so honored and flattered to be even considered for all of this. So thank you so much.